So for the past couple of days, we've been solving systems of equation by graphing. Today, we're going to use a different method called substitution. Okay? And so this is really going to bring in all those steps that we've been working on in order to solve these problems. I can't find my list. Hang on. Please hold. All right, so you guys remember the steps? Right? You have them? Go ahead and take them out because you're going to really need them today. So make sure you take out your list or write yourself a new one. So that you have these ready to use, okay? Because we're going to be using them in today's work. Are we ready? Because you're going to need them. So we're going to look at the first problem here. Okay, so right now we have an equation or two equations, right? And we can solve these because we know what y is equal to. Do we know what y is equal to? What is y equal to? Look at it closely. I'm going to zoom in here. Y is equal to 7x plus 12. Right? It says that right there. So I'm going to use this information to substitute into my second equation. So I'm going to rewrite it, but instead of y, I'm going to write 7x plus 12. And whenever I substitute, I always put it in parentheses. All right? So pay attention. Right now, I just want you guys to watch, okay? Just watch. I'm going to take this equation, minus 7x plus 7 times y. But it tells me that y is equal to 7x plus 12. Amin, you're just watching this time. So 7x plus 12. Amin, just watching. Put your pencil down. Equals 0. Okay, we're just watching. Okay, so now I've substituted. Instead of y, I have 7x plus 12. And no, that's not it. So I'm going to go back to my steps here. It says eliminate parentheses. Do I have parentheses? I do. I have these. So I have to use my distributive property to do that. So I'm going to bring down this minus 7x, but I'm going to multiply 7 times 7x, and I'm going to multiply 7 times 12. Okay? So 7 times 7 is 49, right? They're both positive, so it's plus 49x. And 7 times 12 is going to give me a pretty big number. So if you guys need your calculators, that's absolutely fine with me. So 7 times 12 is going to be 84. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and bring 84 over. And then it's going to equal 0. So now I have a new equation. My equation is negative 7x plus 49x, plus 84 equals 0. Now I'm going to go back to my steps. I did this one, check. I did my distributive property, check. Got rid of my parentheses. Do I have any like terms that I can combine? I can. What can I combine?
Negative 7x and positive
49x. So I can combine those two, really. So I'm really saying 49 minus 7, which gives me positive 42x, right? Plus 84 equals 0. All right, so now I really want x by itself, so I'm going to go ahead and try and solve that by adding the opposite because I need to move this over. So what is the opposite of 84? So I'm going to subtract 84 from both sides. Whoops. Subtract 84 from both sides. And that again is going to give me a new equation which says 42x is equal to negative 84. Make sure you bring down that negative. That negative is super important. And we're still just watching this time. Okay, I want you guys just watching. Okay, so now I have a simple 42x equals negative 84. So I can undo this by dividing, right? Following this step here, divide by the coefficient of x or y. So 42 divided by 42. This becomes Juan, right? But Juan's shy, so we let him hide. Negative 84 divided by a positive is going to give me a negative answer. And the answer is going to be negative 2. Right? So I know that x is equal to 2. I'm not done yet. Because if you remember, I want my order in the form of an ordered pair. I know x is 2, but I don't know what y is. Okay? So, since I do know that x is negative 2, I can take this negative 2 and substitute it into this equation here, right? So my second part is going to say y is equal to 7, and instead of x, negative 2 plus 12. Right? So what is 7 times a negative 2? I have negative 14 plus 12. Can I combine these two? Was negative 14 plus 12? Negative 2, right? So now my y is also equal to negative 2, so my answer becomes this ordered pair of negative 2 comma negative 2. Make sense? Little bit. Okay, go ahead and copy this down. Make sure you have everything. Almost right? All right, a few more minutes. And then we're going to look at number 2. And you guys are going to tell me this time. We're going to do it together. You're going to help me out with solving problem number 2. And number 2, you guys are going to help me. You're going to help me do it, okay? So you have the example of number 1. You're going to follow me. Okay, so do we know what y is equal to?
Negative 6x minus.
Y is equal to this, right? So I'm going to take this information and I'm going to put it here inside my equation for y. So I'm going to rewrite the whole thing, right? So we're going to start off with our negative 6x minus 4. And instead of y, I'm going to use parentheses to substitute what I know y is equal to. Minus 6x minus 20. And then what does it equal?
8.
It equals 8. So now I have a whole new equation to solve. And I'm going to go back to my list, my script. Do I have parentheses that I need to eliminate? Yes. So what am I going to use to eliminate those parentheses? Distributive properties. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to multiply. Look, this is a negative, so I want to pay really close attention to those negative signs. I'm going to multiply negative 4 times negative 6x. And then I'm going to multiply negative 4 times a negative 20. Right? Am I multiplying this negative 6x by anything? So I can just bring it down. That's not involved in my parentheses in any way. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and use everything, all the tools that I've given you. So negative times a negative, right? So if I make my triangle up here, I have 2 negatives and a positive. If I'm multiplying a negative times a negative, negative times a negative, what was my answer become? So it's going to be a positive. So I'm going to say plus. So what is 4 times 6?
24.
Right, so if you don't know it off the top of your head, is it okay to use that calculator? And then my x tags right along. Okay, so my second, again, a negative times a negative. And what do we say when we multiply negative times a negative? What kind of answer do I get? So I'm going to write my plus here. And this time it's 4 times 20. Now remember, it's easier if you just say 4 times 2. What is 4 times 2? 8, and then just add my 0. Shortcut. Is that okay, Eddie? Yep. And then I'm going to write the rest of my equation. So let's go ahead and say equals 8. Right? Because 8, that wasn't involved in my multiplication. So what's my next step here? I go back to my list. What does my list tell me to do? I'm going to go ahead and combine. Do I have any? Yeah, what do I have? I have negative 6x, positive 24, right? So that means I'm really subtracting 6 from 24, right? So what is 24 minus 6? So that gives me 18x plus 80 equals 8. And then I just bring down the rest of my equation, right? So far, so good. So how do I move this 80 now? What's my next step? What does it say? Add the opposite. So what's the opposite of 80? Negative 80. So I'm going to subtract 80 from both sides. That becomes 0. What do I do with this 18x? Just bring it down. And what is the difference between 8 and negative 80? It's going to be a negative, right? It's going to be a negative because 80 is a bigger number. So it's really saying 80 minus 8, which is
74. plus.
72. You were close.
I write it wrong.
Okay, so what's my last step here?
Where was it? 18.
If I go back to my list, I want to divide both sides by 18. Thank you, Lauro. Dividing by 18 both sides. So x is equal to, and I'm going to go ahead and take my calculator because you know what? For me, I just don't do those big numbers in my head anymore. I used to maybe when I was young and fly like you guys. Whoops, I just multiplied it. So I have 72 divided by 18 gives me
4.
4.
Negative 4.
So x is equal to a negative because I have a negative divided by a positive, so it's negative 4. So now that I know what x is, I can go back into my equation, y is equal to negative 6 times x minus 20, and substitute it to find out what y is equal to. So y is equal to negative 6, but instead of x, what am I putting? Negative 4 minus 20. Okay, so a negative, again, negative times a negative is going to give me what? Positive. What's 6 times 4? We already said it was 24 minus 20, right? So what is y equal? What is it?
Negative 4. Positive.
24 minus 20 is
Oh.
4. Dang it. So again, I want to write it in the form of an ordered pair. So x comes before y. My x is negative 4. My y is positive 4. And that's my actual answer. That is the system, the answer to that system of solution. So if I was to graph both of these equations, this is what I would get. Did you say you got it, Camilo? Yeah? Awesome. It's pretty easy, right? Is it a lot of work, guys? Yeah, it's a lot of work. But is it simple work as long as you have your steps, right? We're good. All right. Let's do another one. Let's see. Let me look. Let's do number 6. All right, number 6. What does y equal? So I'm going to go ahead and substitute it into my problem there. Okay? So let's go ahead and take this new equation. Minus 5x minus 4. But instead of y, what am I going to write? And make sure you put those in parentheses. And then it equals negative 21. There's a lot of negatives in there. Let's see if we can solve this. Make sure we're using our tools when we solve these problems with these negative integers. So I'm going to take a negative 4. Oh, hey, I forgot my x. Times a negative 2x. I'm going to take this negative 4 times a positive 9. My negative 5x isn't involved in those parentheses, so I'm just going to bring that down. What is a negative 4 times a negative 2?
Positive 8.
Positive 8x. Now I have a negative 4 times a positive 9. What's that going to give me?
Wait, what?
Negative 36. Positive times a negative gives me a negative. And then bring down my equals negative 21. When? I just brought it down because it's not involved in my parentheses. So I'm just bringing it down. Okay? And then I did my multiplication and brought down the rest of my equation. So now, what's my next step? Okay, don't forget that step. Do I have any like terms here? Yeah. I have a negative 5x and a positive 8x. So 8 minus 5 is what? 8 minus 5 is what? 3. So it becomes positive 3x minus 36 equals a negative 21.
Negative 3x?
No, because the 8's positive. It's a bigger number. So if I did my t-chart, here's my positives and my negatives. 8 is positive, 5 is negative. 5 is a smaller number, so I'm going to subtract it, which gives me a 3 on the positive side. Okay? So let's finish my equation here. How do I move this negative 36? How do I move the negative 36?
You subtract both sides. That positive 43.
Right, I don't want to subtract it. It's already negative. It's going to double that negative. So I'm going to do the opposite, which is plus 36 on both sides. That becomes 0. Bring down my 3x. So 36 minus 21.
What?
36 minus 21.
18.
Close. And then finish it off by doing what? Dividing both sides by what number?
15.
By 3.
30 what?
So x is equal to what? 15 divided by 3 is 5. I'm going to take my x is equal to 5 and substitute it into my equation. So y is equal to negative 2 times, instead of x, what am I going to write?
5.
Plus 9. Right? Y is equal to, what's a negative 2 times a positive 5?
Oh, above 3.
Negative 2 times 5?
10.
Negative 10
Wait, what? Oh,
plus 9. I'm multiplying.
Oh, okay.
So what does y actually equal? Negative 10 plus 9 is? Negative 10 plus 9.
Oh, positive 19. Negative 19. Wait, what?
What is it, Frank? Negative 1.
You said added.
Right, but they're opposite signs. So if I use my t-chart, let's use my t-chart again for that. Plus and minus. 10 is negative. 9 is positive. 9 is a smaller number, so I'm going to subtract it over here. 10 minus 9 is 1 in the negative side. Okay, use that column method to help you out. So my answer isn't this, right? What's my actual answer? What's my actual answer?
4.
5, comma, negative 1. In the form of an ordered pair. Yes?
No.
All right. I want you guys to do number 3 on your own, and then we'll check it together. So you're doing number 3 on your own. Wait, I'm sorry, here. So after you're done with this one, work on number 3 on your own, and then we'll check it together. You're working on number 3 now after you're done with this one. Everybody has this one? Done? Just follow along. Okay, so y is equal to 5x minus 3. So I'm going to take that information and put it into my equation where y is here. So pay attention up here, guys. So my equation now says 2x plus 8 times my value for y, which is 5x minus 3. And it's equal to a negative 24. Following along. So I'm going to use my distributive property here, Mr. Aguirre, to multiply 8 times a 5x and 8 times a negative 3. My 2x isn't involved in that equation, so I can just bring it down. 8 times 5 is a positive 40. My x tags along, gives me 40x. 8 times a negative 3 is a negative 24 equals a negative 24. Okay? Do I have any like terms that I can combine?
Yes.
I have 2x and 40x, which gives me 42x, right? Bring down my negative 24 equals negative 24. Now I'm going to add the opposite. We all got this so far? What's my opposite? Plus 24 on both sides. So this is 0. Bring down my 42x is equal to, oh, look what happens on this side. What happens? What is negative 24 plus 24? Now I'm going to go ahead and use 0 as a placeholder, which makes my next part super easy. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 42, but x, that's super easy. 0 divided by 42 is going to be what?
42. 0.
X equals 0. So that makes my substitution really easy too, because when x is 0, everything becomes 0. So I'm going to take my equation, y equals 5 times, instead of x, it's going to be 0, right? Minus 3. What is 5 times 0? So y is equal to negative 3. But am I done? What's my real answer? 0, comma, negative 3. That's my real answer. I'm looking for that ordered pair. We got it? How many of you guys were close to being right there? Good. So you guys are close to being there. You ready to work on your own? Okay, go ahead and work on your own. Finish the rest of the equations.